one can analyze the opportunities in one's organization?
And I think it takes an open mind, and I think it takes a lot of curiosity on behalf of a leader to not have, as a leader, you have to be flexible.
Yes.
You have to acknowledge maybe the decision that you made isn't the perfect solution. Maybe it needs to be refined, or maybe it needs to.
So, how you work with executive leadership to implement all those practices effectively and efficiently?
Strong HR leader is able to engage. My name is Karen Melvin. I am a senior manager of talent acquisition, which is recruiting at JB Hunt. But prior to my time here at JB Hunt, I had built an HR career working at a telecom organization, telecom and technology organization, working in recruiting, working in a business partner capacity, and then growing into leading our North America HR shared services operations, which was such a pleasure. And then prior to that, I had the joy of leading recruitment teams and leading a contact center environment at a university. So it's exciting to talk to you today, and I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time.
My pleasure. So, I just want to know more about when you identified a disruptive company and a change within your organization and how you implemented that it successfully.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of the accomplishments I'm most proud of is at my last organization, I came into the role leading our North America HR shared services team, and they were in a difficult place. I mean, they just needed a leader to come in and listen to that team and help them reach their accomplishments. So, for example, normally in their world, employees, future employees, past employees could contact this team and get help with a wide variety of questions. And normally that was taking them about 2 weeks to respond, which 2 weeks is a long time when you may need help with a W-2 or you may need help with a benefits issue, right? And so I came into that role and the team was underwater and they needed help. And so the challenge is that I didn't know much about that space. And so I was new to that discipline. And thankfully, I reported to a leader who was an expert in that field. And so he and I came together and whiteboarded a session for a couple of days and said, how do we get from 2 weeks response time for employees, past, current, and future employees? How do we get from 2 weeks to 3 or 4 business hours? How do we drive that disruption within our model? And we basically agreed in that whiteboarding session that anything's possible. Okay, we can shoot for the stars here. And I'm really proud to say that through a lot of brainstorming and creativity and his expertise and my new lens to this, we were able to come together and build out a model that got us down to 3 to 4 business hours, but also got our team engagement way up because they were buried and they needed someone to tell their story, understand their story. And so we were able to partner together effectively to build a really strong model that took very limited investment and really helped our employees at the end of the day as well. So really proud of that accomplishment.
Wow, that's an amazing thing, just joining one new company and, helping them to increase the engagement rate. So, how one can analyze the opportunities in one's organization? Like, can you give another example? Like how did you analyze? Okay, this is the thing which I need to bring, or this is a change we need.
Absolutely. Another good question. So I'll say here that I think the most important thing when you're looking for identifying and solving organizational change is listening. You have to listen to the people who sit in those roles every day, who are in the trenches, who are, living that experience. Listen to your stakeholders who may not sit in the trenches, but they do care a lot about how we're executing on that vision. So listening is kind of the starting point. And then I think that has to grow into, okay, what data do we have that either supports those concerns or challenges those concerns? And how do we connect those dots? Either way that story can go. And then I think you have to build out teams to help design and implement solutions that can move the needle on that change. And so I've done that in every step in my career and in many different capacities. And I think it takes an open mind, and I think it takes a lot of curiosity on behalf of a leader to not have, confirmation bias in the kind of judgments we're making, but instead really listening to the people who really care about how successful we are as a function. So that's my advice on that question.
Okay, but when we try to bring the change or when we lead the change, it's very important to, to let other people to listen us, or it's very difficult to work as a team. So can you please tell that how you encourage other people to support you?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So for me, it's about involvement. So the best leaders I've had in my career are the ones that pulled together groups of people to execute the vision. Some of the not so effective leaders have isolated that opportunity, and so I think involving members of the team who are impacted by that change is really important. I think you also need to give those folks clear communication channels. So setting up a lot of opportunities for those folks to ask questions. I had a VP at one of my stops that anytime they rolled out a change management strategy, a big part of that was every day for the first week or two of that major change, they would have daily touch base calls. And they were kind of like dial it in whenever you want, right? If you have a question, join the call. If you want to just listen, join the call. If you are curious, join the call, right? So it's just an opportunity for people to come in and listen from other people's kind of experience through change. Just took 30 minutes every day, and I thought that was really effective, so that people felt really comfortable culturally to ask questions. Also reaching out to people. So some people may not be comfortable coming forward and saying, "Hey, I'm struggling through this." So seeking those people out, saying, "Hey, how are you doing? Help me understand. How can I support you?" And then as you gather that feedback, I think as a leader, you have to be flexible.
Yes.
You have to acknowledge maybe the decision that you made isn't the perfect solution. Maybe it needs to be refined, or maybe it needs to be challenged, and be willing to accept change yourself of your plan, so that the people who are vested in it can help shape and refine that for improvement long term. The other thing I would also make sure to assess when you're implementing change, you need to know the company culture. So you need to know company culture. Is it top down or is it bottom up? So you got to figure that out, and you need to adopt your change management approach to accommodate that, so that when you do execute what can be uncomfortable for some folks, they can have that consistency of, okay, in this organization, we either look up to our leaders to help, them be an influencer of change, or we look across our peer group to feel that stability through a high degree of change.
Got it. So you have told earlier in your introduction that you are also HR. So can you describe a time when you think that okay, now we should change, hiring process, or there should be some change in hiring practices. So how you work with executive leadership to implement all those practices effectively and efficiently?
Absolutely. So in HR, it's a huge opportunity. I think it's one of the few positions in any large organization where you can help business leaders solve their problems using kind of an HR tool belt. So you have to do that with people from various points in their career, right? So you may have people who are brand new, have only been out of college for a month or two. And then, of course, you have people who have been in HR for 20 or 30 years and are very tenured and seasoned in their craft. And then also within HR, you have a lot of disciplines, and you have a lot of different specialty areas. So I think a good HR leader, strong HR leader, is able to engage all those different parties and sustain a high performing change culture and a dynamic culture. And I think they do that well whenever they recognize that everybody who operates in those different points of view have different lanes, they have different lenses, and you have to kind of accommodate how you communicate with them, so that they have the opportunity and the platform to express their perspective and understand the story as it relates to their position. So for me in my career, I've seen that where maybe an earlier career person needs to really understand the why, understand their specific lane and the scope that they operate within, whereas someone who's more seasoned and tenured who may have worked in different capacities in the function or the organization, those folks can sit within a larger picture, a larger framework, because they've sat in those different roles. So I think you have to accommodate that, rework presentations, rework content to accommodate to that. I think you also have to be very authentic to who you are. You have to know that you don't have all the answers, and that you're looking to seek their input and to listen to them and learn from them. You have to challenge them as well to think bigger or think differently. And then I also think you have to include those early career folks. I think they have a lot of fresh ideas and fresh point of view that can be a great disruptive opportunity for the business. So I think you have to pull them in and make sure they're part of solutioning and make sure that that change is inclusive of their own experience, because I think it's valuable and in many ways a precious commodity to the business.
Yes, true. So the work you do, it requires a lot of networking. So how we can partner with the senior executive leaders or other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think networking with senior leaders is it's a huge benefit of the platform that I think you have in HR. And I think building a relationship with them so that they understand, how can I support you? How can I solve your biggest problems
Mhm.
using the HR skills that I have, right? The resources that I have, that they're running a business, right? And so I think maximizing their time and helping them understand that I'm part of their support network and I'm going to help measure our success for them. I'm going to help them understand how we're able to execute on their vision and what I need from them to help make that happen, I think is really important. And I think it's also important to understand them as individuals and not just the role that they perform. I think that's also key in helping make sure that you have a really strong relationship with those senior leaders, both within the organization. I think that's important. I think also long term, building and keeping a network of senior leaders in your corner as mentors, as advocates, as people who can you can lean on for advice is also key.
Is how do you measure and track the success of your initiatives, and can you give some example of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big data person. I think data is the key to success, and that's new in HR. That's something that didn't happen in our discipline really until 10 or 15 years ago. So it's still pretty new, but I think the most important key to data is helping your team see themselves in the data. So data can be very overwhelming for some folks, right? Especially if you're early career or maybe you're not used to data in a large organization. So in my experience, I think it's really important for each of your team members to really understand and have self-service access to those data sources where they can say, okay, that's me, and I can help move the needle here. And here's how I'm going to, set myself a goal, and I'm going to be able to achieve that through the end of the year, through the end of the quarter. And I think right now I'm leading leaders, and so those leaders help build a kind of data culture that has accountability within that and celebration within that. So using those data tools to say, wow, so and so employee has really done a great job here. Let's celebrate that. Or it looks like this employee has a challenge here and the data's not looking great. Help us understand why so we can help support them, right? Because that can be an indicator of some real issues that need to be fixed to help them perform at their best. I was really lucky at JB Hunt when I came in here. We had great data sources already built out, and that has been instrumental in continuing to build a really strong program. But also making sure you're partnering with those teams that own those resources and helping, ensuring that you continue to have great conversation with them to help improve those tools and resources so the stories that your team has access to can continue to drive engagement and can continue to tell their stories up in the organization so that you guys can continue to have the resources you need. They can continue to be challenged in the right way and continue to provide ROI to our business leaders for the work that we're doing to solve their needs. So data is huge, in my opinion, and I think it's a key to success in being a strong leader within your team as well.
Yeah, even it is going to have lot of audience over there, your approach, because yes, data is very important when it comes to measure the success, or not even success, but anything in the business field or in
Hmm.
personal field. Data is very an important thing. Okay, so my
Yes.
last question to you is that if you had the attention of whole world for 5 minutes, what message you will give them?
Yeah, this is probably the funnest question you're asking me, and I've been thinking about this question. I talked to my husband about it, and he said he would ask everybody to get their phone out and scan a Venmo code and send us a penny to our Venmo account. And I was like, I don't think that would be my answer. But I think for me, I've just finished a book by Brene Brown. It's the book I thought it was just me, but it isn't, and it's about shame. It's about how do we work through shame as a culture and as women in particular. And in that book, she talks about connection and the power of empathy and the power of advocating for people when there's cruelty, and just how powerful that can be as a leader, as an individual, as a parent. And so for me, I think it would have to be take 5 minutes to walk in someone else's shoes, take 5 minutes to talk to somebody you don't know and learn about their struggle. What have they done in the hard times and those hard moments? Because I do believe at my core as a person, that connection and learning about people and where they are and where they're going and where they've been, is transformational. So that would be my 5 minute activity, is find someone you don't know, and talk and learn about where they've been and where they're headed, and let's learn to grow through that. Let's learn to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, if we have those 5 minutes together.
That's an amazing message to know someone's life struggle, because it's very important to know each other. It's very important to be kind. It's very important to
Mm.
respect to each other. And I think that's an amazing message you have. So that's all from my side, Karen. Do you want to add something extra?
No, it's just been a real pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for the opportunity to meet some of your viewers, and I'm so excited to continue to be a fan of your podcast and continue to learn and listen from your future guests. It's been a pleasure watching some of your videos so far, and I'm tremendously honored by the opportunity.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.